There was a lot to unpack here in episode 10 of And Just Like That, but I want to focus on two things specifically. The first is how Carrie absolutely sucks as a friend. And then the second is how Miranda gets destroyed not once, but twice in this episode. So, first of all, I actually don't understand why the writers put this scene in the episode because it was just cruel. It wasn't just mean, it was cruel. Now, between Sex and the City and Just Like That, there had been some mean things, but this scene was just flat out cruel. Like, I think this is, in my book, this is the lowest that they've ever gone. And I am really trying to understand what was even the purpose of it, including this scene. But let's talk about Carrie as a friend. So Miranda has been her friend for like 30 years, okay? And she's been through it with her through everything. And Che is just being a complete jerk, like cruel, back to being cruel. And Carrie is looking over at Miranda, and obviously she's uncomfortable. And like, it's devastating. Like, I'm watching this and I am like horrified. And you know that if Charlotte or Samantha were there, they would have jumped up immediately and started thrashing Che. Yeah, remember this? Charlotte would have jumped up and started screaming like, no! Because Charlotte is a good friend like that, right? It's like, Che is like trashing one of her best friends and hurting her painfully. And Charlotte would have gotten up like, no, right? Like what she did with Big. And if Samantha was there, she would have grabbed Miranda and said, honey, we are out of here. And then she would have thrown like the death stare at Shay as they were walking out. You know, that look that Samantha does so well. But what does Carrie do? She just sits there. And even as like Miranda leaves, like Carrie should have picked up and left also. And not only should Carrie and Aiden have left with Miranda, Carrie should have chewed out Che and gotten her face and said, this is not how you will treat my friend. Like, this is one of my best friends. Like, who the hell are you to talk to my friend and slam her like this? This is not comedy. You know, and then it gets worse because the next day Miranda calls to say like she's not going to feel comfortable going to the last supper because Che is going to be there. And it's like, and then Carrie goes on this like, get over it. We're not in high school. And honestly, I was like, bitch, what? Like, and I'm also surprised that Miranda didn't go off on Carrie too. Like, you're my friend. Why are you letting this woman talk to me like that? And like, you not doing anything. Like, if that were me, if I were Miranda, I would have been so mad at both Carrie and Che. And then the fact that Carrie had the nerve to just be a jerk. And again, and center everything around her. And it's like, no, Miranda, you're just going to get over it and come to my dinner because this is the last night in my apartment. And oh, by the way, I have a celebrity chef who's doing this. So you're coming because it's about me. Like, Carrie always makes it about her. Oh my, ugh. And then Miranda, like, I don't know why Miranda's even going. Like, why is she going there? So here's the thing that actually made me the angriest. So remember early in the day, Miranda kicked ass. She was like badass at the United Nations, right? Like fighting for the people and looking awesome in this coat. But she was just like, you know, back into her power, right? And blooming in this new career. And that was earlier in the day, right? So Miranda's on this high. She's doing really good, right? Kicking ass. And then we're like cheering her on. Like, you go, girl. And then this scene happens, right? Where then like Che is just cruel and just crushes her. And so, you know, the message that the show is sending, and I don't even I'm really curious if any of the writers even thought about this. So the message that they're sending is, oh, well, you can't have a moment to be badass in your career and be in your power without being shit on and destroyed later that evening. Like we can't give it a moment where Miranda gets to enjoy being in her power, and we as the audience get to enjoy seeing her being badass in this new career, right? She's making career change, and we just can't have that. So they have to go in, and one of Che's jokes is about how she was, Miranda's confused and doesn't know what she wants, and she's just this mess and all of that shit. And you would think that a show about women in their 50s is like, on some level, should be empowering. And we finally get a moment to see Miranda in her new career and looking fabulous while she's doing it. And we can't even get a full day without her being disintegrated into like, oh, well, you may be smart at work, but in your private life, you're just a complete mess. So we're just gonna wreck the whole thing. Oh, and if I were Aiden, after seeing how Carrie just let Che like shit all over her friend, one of her best friends of 3 decades, I would be really worried. In fact, I would run. This should be a sign to Aiden that you should run. Like, if Carrie's going to do that to her best friend of 30 years, what do you think she's going to do to you? I mean, look what she's already done to you. And she hasn't proven that she's grown much. So if I were Aiden, dude, go. Save yourself. But really, I just wanted one episode of this. Enjoying Miranda being like in her power, in her new career, and celebrating her success. Like showing women empowered, and also showing that in your 50s, you can change careers, right? You can actually do the work that your heart's in, where, follow your passions and look fabulous while doing it. Like, why couldn't And Just Like That give us that? Like, please. Oh, man. But this was the highlight of that whole episode for me. So those are my thoughts. What did you think?